but I have stated this on many occasions. He is the worst superstar I have ever seen in sports. Worst and superstar being the operative words.
Stephen A. Smith has been saying it for years, and now it's becoming reality. Kawhi Leonard is shaping up to be the worst kind of superstar in NBA history. Not only is he tied to a $28 million scheme, but a fresh ESPN bombshell is exposing even more of his antics, and this time, it might finally be the end for him. Let's get into it. The bombshell exposed. On September 3rd, 2025, investigative journalist Pablo Torre dropped what many are calling the biggest NBA scandal since the Donald Sterling controversy. Through his podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out, Torre revealed that Kawhi Leonard had signed a 4-year, $28 million endorsement deal with a company called Aspiration, a deal that required virtually no work from Leonard and included suspicious clauses that tied his payments directly to his status with the Clippers. But here's where it gets really interesting. Aspiration, the company paying Leonard, was bankrupt. Not only that, but its co-founder had pleaded guilty to defrauding investors of over $248 million. And perhaps most damning of all, Clippers owner Steve Ballmer had invested $50 million of his own money into this same company.
What you may want to consider doing is one of the highest paying jobs right now, allegedly, is planting trees.
Real? Oh, yeah, that's
and
right.
There's this guy named Kawhi Leonard.
It's French?
Yeah, he's actually got massive hands.
Yeah.
Okay. He's I think he picked up the French name when he played for a city called Toronto Raptors.
Toronto.
And then he played for San Antonio. And then when he went to Clippers, there's a guy who was the former CEO of the Microsoft. This guy is worth a couple $100 billion.
Here's what makes this story absolutely explosive. Torre's investigation, based on over 3,000 pages of documents and interviews with 7 former Aspiration employees, revealed that Leonard never did any promotional work for the company. Think about that for a moment. A company paid one of the NBA's biggest stars $7 million per year for 4 years, and he literally did nothing in return. No commercials, no social media posts, no appearances, no autograph signings, absolutely nothing. One former Aspiration employee, speaking anonymously to Torre, was crystal clear about what this deal really was. The contract was to circumvent the salary cap, LOL. Another employee confirmed that they never saw Leonard promote Aspiration, never, not once. But the most suspicious part of the contract wasn't what Leonard had to do. It was what would happen if he left the team. The deal included a clause that would void Leonard's payments if he was no longer an employee of the Clippers for any reason. This isn't how normal endorsement deals work. When LeBron signs with Nike or Curry partners with Under Armour, those deals don't disappear if they change teams. The financial connections in this story are staggering. Let's break down the timeline. In September 2021, Steve Ballmer invests $50 million in Aspiration. That same month, the Clippers announce a $300 million sponsorship deal with Aspiration. 2 months later, in November 2021, Ballmer introduces Leonard to Aspiration executives. Then in April 2022, Leonard signs his $28 million deal with Aspiration. But wait, it gets worse. A report from the Boston Sports Journal revealed that Leonard actually received an additional $20 million in Aspiration stock, bringing his total compensation to $48 million to just $2 million shy of Ballmer's entire investment in the company. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly was Aspiration? Aspiration wasn't just any startup, it was a massive fraud. The company, which marketed itself as a green bank, focused on environmental sustainability and tree planting, was built on lies from the ground up. Co-founder Joseph Sandberg, who orchestrated much of the fraud, pleaded guilty in August 2025 to defrauding investors of $248 million. The scheme involved inflating revenue numbers, faking tree planting metrics, and creating fraudulent financial statements to deceive investors. When Aspiration filed for bankruptcy in March 2025, the creditor list told the whole story. The Clippers were owed $30.1 million, Ballmer's Forum Entertainment was owed $11 million, and Leonard's company KL2 Aspire LLC was owed $7 million. The financial entanglement was complete. This scandal isn't happening in a vacuum. In 2019, the NBA investigated allegations that Leonard's uncle Dennis Robertson had requested improper benefits during Leonard's free agency, including guaranteed endorsement deals and even partial team ownership. While that investigation found no evidence of wrongdoing, the parallels to the current situation are striking.
Let's talk to the fan. We signed that deal with Kawhi before any of this, before Kawhi even knows these people. We've signed our deal. That's high integrity. We made our deal with Aspiration. Literally, I had no control over the company. Literally, even when I invested, I think there was somebody who put in 6 times as much money as I did. No control. And that's okay. The average fan should understand that. And they went off and made a deal. I don't know what the deal is. I know what the reports are with the speculation. I don't know what the deal is or was.
The NBA's response was swift and serious. On September 4th, 2025, the league announced it was launching a formal investigation. But this wasn't just any investigation. The NBA hired Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz, the same law firm that investigated Donald Sterling and Robert Sarver, both of whom were ultimately forced to sell their teams. The choice of this particular law firm sends a clear message. The NBA is taking these allegations extremely seriously. Commissioner Adam Silver has previously described salary cap circumvention as a cardinal sin, and the league has a history of harsh penalties for teams that try to cheat the system. The implications of this investigation extend far beyond just Leonard and the Clippers. If proven true, this could represent the most sophisticated attempt to circumvent the NBA's salary cap in the modern era, potentially undermining the competitive balance that the league has worked so hard to maintain. But as explosive as these allegations are, the defensive responses from both Ballmer and the Clippers organization have raised even more questions about what really happened behind the scenes. The defense crumbles. In the aftermath of Pablo Torre's bombshell report, the Los Angeles Clippers and Steve Ballmer went into full damage control mode. But as we'll see, their attempts to explain away the $28 million scandal only raised more questions and revealed potentially damning contradictions in their story. Just 2 days after the story broke, Steve Ballmer sat down with ESPN's Ramona Shelburne for his first public comments on the scandal. What emerged was a defense strategy that seemed almost too convenient to believe.
We were done. They were done. We were done with Kawhi, we were done with aspiration. The deals were all locked and loaded. Then they did request to be introduced to Kawhi under the rules. We can introduce our sponsors to our athletes. We just can't be involved. We made an introduction that was in early November, well past when all of this happens.
Ballmer's core argument was simple. He was a victim. These were guys who committed fraud. Look, they conned me, he told ESPN. I made an investment in these guys thinking it was on the up and up, and they conned me. But let's examine this claim. We're talking about Steve Ballmer, a man worth over $150 billion, the former CEO of Microsoft, someone who didn't become one of the richest people on earth by being easily fooled. Ballmer claimed he reviewed primarily fraudulent financials and felt embarrassed and kind of silly that he didn't detect the issues. One of the biggest holes in Ballmer's defense involves the timing of events. Ballmer claims he introduced Leonard to aspiration in November 2021, after Leonard's contract extension was already signed and after the Clippers' sponsorship deal with aspiration was finalized. Here's the timeline according to Ballmer. August 2021 sees Leonard sign his extension with the Clippers. September 2021 brings the Clippers' sponsorship announcement with aspiration and Ballmer's $50 million investment in the company. November 2021 is when Ballmer introduces Leonard to aspiration. Finally, April 2022 is when Leonard signs his $28 million deal.
So where could any of this circumvention have happened? It couldn't have. The introduction got made, and then they were off to the races on their own. We weren't involved.
But this timeline raises serious questions. If Leonard was already locked into his extension, and if Ballmer had no control over aspiration, he claimed less than 3% ownership with no board seat, then why did aspiration pay? Leonard $48 million total for doing absolutely nothing? Perhaps the most unbelievable aspect of Ballmer's defense was his claim of complete ignorance about the deal's details. When asked about the $28 million figure, Ballmer said, "I don't know how much money they gave him, and I don't know why they did what they did." Think about this for a moment. We're supposed to believe that Ballmer invested $50 million in a company. That same company paid his star player $48 million. The payment amounts were nearly identical to his investment, and he had absolutely no knowledge of this massive financial transaction. Former Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban, defending Ballmer on social media, argued that Steve isn't that dumb, and questioned why Ballmer would allow the company to go bankrupt if he was orchestrating a scheme. But this defense actually raises more questions. If Ballmer is as smart as Cuban claims, how could he miss such obvious red flags? The Clippers organization issued multiple statements denying any wrongdoing. Their first statement was brief but definitive. Neither Mr. Ballmer nor the Clippers circumvented the salary cap or engaged in any misconduct related to aspiration. Any contrary assertion is provably false. But their second, longer statement revealed more about their defensive strategy. The notion that Steve invested in aspiration in order to funnel money to Kawhi Leonard is absurd, they claimed. There is nothing unusual or untoward about team sponsors doing endorsement deals with players on the same team. This is where the Clippers' defense falls apart. While it's true that team sponsors sometimes sign endorsement deals with players, those deals typically involve actual work. Players appear in commercials, make appearances, post on social media, or provide other promotional value. Leonard did none of these things for aspiration, despite receiving $28 million. The Clippers tried to normalize Leonard's deal by pointing to other sponsor-player relationships. They mentioned examples like Stephen Curry's work with JP Morgan Chase, a Warriors sponsor. But this comparison actually hurts their case more than it helps. When Curry partners with JP Morgan Chase, he appears in their advertisements, participates in community events, and actively promotes their brand. A search of Leonard's social media and public appearances found zero evidence of him promoting aspiration in any way. Throughout Ballmer's ESPN interview, one notable absence was any mention of Dennis Robertson, Leonard's uncle and business manager. Robertson has a history of making controversial demands during Leonard's contract negotiations, including the 2019 allegations that he sought improper benefits. When ESPN's Ramona Shelburne asked Ballmer directly whether Robertson had requested any benefits that would violate league rules since 2019, his answer was telling.
They know the rules. They, meaning Kawhi and his representatives, including his uncle. We know the rules, and if anything's not clear, we remind ourselves what the rules are, and we make absolutely clear we're going to abide by those rules, and they understand them as well, and it's important for them to abide by them, which they have.
Notice that Ballmer never actually said no. Instead, he gave a lengthy answer about knowing the rules and abiding by them. If Robertson had never made improper requests, why not just say so directly? The media reaction to Ballmer's defense was largely skeptical. ESPN's Stephen A. Smith was particularly harsh in his assessment of the situation.
First of all, I'm going to always give Steve Ballmer the benefit of the doubt. I think that he's a treasure for the NBA, and obviously this is worthy of an investigation, it appears. The Clippers have categorically denied any wrongdoing.
But Smith's commentary focused heavily on Leonard's character and history.
When this man is on the court, he is a bona fide superstar player. This brother is a two-time champion, two-time NBA Finals MVP, okay? He can ball, doesn't shrink beneath the spotlight or the pressure. This is in no way questioning his greatness as a basketball player. But I have stated this on many occasions. He is the worst superstar I have ever seen in sports. Worse and superstar being the operative words.
Smith's criticism highlighted a key point about Leonard's public persona that made the no-show allegations seem believable to many observers. Despite Ballmer's claims of ignorance, the financial details of the situation paint a picture of coordination that's hard to ignore. We have Ballmer's $50 million investment in aspiration, Leonard's $28 million cash deal plus $20 million in stock, totaling $48 million, and the Clippers' $300 million sponsorship deal with aspiration. The Boston Sports Journal reported that nearly all of Ballmer's $50 million investment was paid directly to Kawhi Leonard, using aspiration as a go-between. If true, this would represent almost perfect financial symmetry, exactly the kind of arrangement you'd expect in a coordinated scheme to circumvent the salary cap. When aspiration filed for bankruptcy in March 2025, the creditor documents told a damning story. The fact that the Clippers, Ballmer's entities, and Leonard's company were all listed as major creditors suggests deep financial entanglement that goes beyond Ballmer's claim of a simple arm's-length investment. These documents also revealed that Leonard had received $21 million of his $28 million deal, with $7 million still owed when the company collapsed. This timing suggests that aspiration prioritized payments to Leonard even as the company was struggling financially, behavior that would be highly unusual for a legitimate endorsement deal. The more we examine Ballmer's defense and the Clippers' statements, the more questions arise. While they painted themselves as innocent victims of a sophisticated fraud, the financial evidence suggests a level of coordination that goes far beyond what they're willing to admit. And as we'll see in our final part, the potential consequences of this investigation could be devastating not just for Leonard and the Clippers, but for the entire NBA landscape. The fallout and future. As the NBA's investigation into the Kawhi Leonard scandal continues, the potential consequences are staggering. We're not just talking about fines or suspensions. This case could fundamentally reshape how the league polices financial arrangements and could destroy one of its most high-profile franchises. The NBA's decision to hire Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz signals just how seriously the league is taking these allegations. This isn't just any law firm. They're the legal powerhouse that investigated Donald Sterling's racist comments and Robert Sarver's workplace misconduct. both of which resulted in forced sales of NBA franchises. The investigation has access to over 3,000 pages of documents that Torre reviewed, including Leonard's actual contract with Aspiration, internal company communications, and bankruptcy filing. The NBA is also interviewing former Aspiration employees, including the 7 who spoke to Torre about the deal being designed to circumvent the salary cap. What makes this investigation particularly dangerous for the Clippers is the NBA's previous experience with salary cap violations. The Minnesota Timberwolves case from 2000 serves as a stark reminder of what can happen when teams try to cheat the system. In that case, the Timberwolves were fined $3.5 million, lost 5 first-round draft picks, later reduced to 3, and had to void Joe Smith's contract. Under the current collective bargaining agreement, the penalties for salary cap circumvention are severe and could cripple the Clippers' future. The financial penalties alone are substantial, up to $7.5 million fine for the team and up to $350,000 fine for Leonard. But the real devastation would come from other penalties. The NBA could strip the Clippers of multiple first-round draft picks, which would be devastating for a team that already lacks first-round picks until 2027 due to previous trades. Even more damaging, Leonard's current 3-year, $153 million contract extension could be voided, making him a free agent and potentially forcing the Clippers to rebuild around aging role players. The investigation could also result in team executives, coaches, or even Ballmer himself facing suspensions of up to 1 year. The organizational disruption alone could set the franchise back for years. What makes the potential penalties even more severe is the Clippers' history of violations. The team was fined $250,000 in 2015 for offering DeAndre Jordan an unauthorized Lexus endorsement deal during free agency. Under NBA rules, repeat offenders face harsher penalties, which could push any punishment into unprecedented territory. The 2019 investigation into Leonard's free agency, while it found no evidence of wrongdoing, also creates a pattern of scrutiny around the Clippers and Leonard. The fact that similar allegations have surfaced again, with even more damning evidence, suggests either incredible bad luck or a pattern of behavior. ESPN's Stephen A. Smith has been one of the harshest critics of Leonard throughout this scandal, and his comments highlight why the allegations have gained so much traction.
Because there's a sentence in here where it says, the deal was with Kawhi Leonard's company KL2 Aspire, LLC, and included clauses allowing Leonard to do nothing, yet still collect payment. That's the Kawhi Leonard I know. Doing nothing and getting paid for it.
Smith's assessment of Leonard's character and work ethic has been scathing.
This is a man that did New Balance commercials, and the kids spoke, Molly. The kids. He didn't say a word. This man is a walking absentee on the ballot. This brother will check the absentee ballot as much as he possibly can throughout his career. So when I saw this report and it said money for doing nothing, I said, That's what made me pause.
This scandal extends far beyond just the Clippers and Leonard. NBA executives from rival teams have expressed concern that the league's competitive balance could be undermined if teams are allowed to circumvent the salary cap through creative financial arrangements. Commissioner Adam Silver has previously described salary cap circumvention as a cardinal sin, and the league has worked hard to maintain competitive balance through its salary cap system. If the allegations against the Clippers are proven true, it could lead to stricter oversight of endorsement deals league-wide. For Leonard personally, the consequences could be career-defining. At 34 years old and with a history of significant injuries, he's already in the twilight of his career. Leonard has missed 45% of regular season games since joining the Clippers, and this scandal could further damage his reputation and marketability. If his contract is voided, Leonard would become a free agent at the worst possible time. Teams might be hesitant to sign a player embroiled in a salary cap scandal, especially one with his injury history. His current contract pays him $50.3 million for the 2026-27 season, money he would lose if the NBA voids the deal. The financial numbers in this case tell a story of coordinated deception that's almost impossible to explain away. We have Ballmer's $50 million investment in Aspiration, Leonard's $48 million total compensation, cash plus stock, and the Clippers' $300 million sponsorship deal with Aspiration. The timing is equally damning. Leonard's deal was structured to begin after his contract extension was signed, creating the appearance of independence while still providing massive additional compensation. The clause tying his payments to his status with the Clippers is unlike anything seen in legitimate endorsement deals. What's perhaps most striking is how this scandal connects to Leonard's history and reputation. The 2019 allegations involving his uncle Dennis Robertson seeking improper benefits now look like a dress rehearsal for what happened with Aspiration. The pattern suggests this wasn't a one-off incident, but part of of a systematic approach to maximizing Leonard's compensation outside the salary cap. The implications for competitive balance in the NBA are enormous. If wealthy owners like Ballmer can funnel money to star players through third-party companies, it creates an unfair advantage that undermines the entire salary cap system. Small market teams without billionaire owners would be unable to compete, fundamentally altering the competitive landscape of the NBA. The league's response to this investigation will set a precedent for how it handles similar cases in the future. If the NBA is lenient with the Clippers despite compelling evidence of wrongdoing, it could embolden other teams to explore similar schemes. Conversely, harsh penalties would send a clear message that salary cap violations will not be tolerated, regardless of the wealth or status of the owner involved. For the Clippers organization, the damage extends beyond potential penalties. The franchise has spent years trying to build legitimacy and escape the shadow of the Donald Sterling era. Ballmer's $2 billion investment in the Intuit Dome was meant to signal a new chapter for the organization, but this scandal threatens to undo all that progress. The irony is particularly bitter given that Aspiration nearly secured naming rights to the new arena, bidding nearly double Intuit's $550 million offer. Had that deal gone through, the Clippers would be playing in an arena named after a fraudulent company that was allegedly being used to circumvent NBA rules. The investigation also raises questions about due diligence and oversight in professional sports. If Ballmer, with all his resources and business acumen, could be conned by Aspiration, what does that say about the vetting processes used by other teams and owners? The NBA may need to implement stricter oversight of team sponsorships and player endorsement deals to prevent similar situations in the future. The human cost of this scandal shouldn't be overlooked either. Clippers employees, fans, and players are caught in the crossfire of an investigation they had no part in creating. If severe penalties are imposed, it could affect everyone from front office staff to season ticket holders who have invested emotionally and financially in the team. Looking ahead, the resolution of this case could reshape Leonard's legacy entirely. He's already established himself as one of the best players of his generation, with 2 championships and 2 finals MVP awards. But if he's found to have knowingly participated in a salary cap circumvention scheme, that achievement could be forever tainted. The broader implications for player representation are also significant. Dennis Robertson's alleged role in orchestrating these arrangements could lead to stricter oversight of player representatives and family members who operate outside the traditional agent system. The NBA Players Association may need to provide more guidance to players about proper business practices and the risks of unconventional financial arrangements. As this investigation continues, we're witnessing a case that could fundamentally alter the NBA landscape. The precedent set here will influence how teams structure their business relationships for years to come. Whether it results in new regulations, stricter enforcement, or a complete overhaul of how endorsement deals are monitored, the Kawhi Leonard scandal represents a watershed moment for professional basketball. The financial stakes are enormous, the competitive implications are far-reaching, and the reputational damage could be permanent. For Leonard, Ballmer, and the Clippers, the next few months will determine whether this scandal becomes a footnote in NBA history or the defining moment that changed everything. What makes this case particularly compelling is that it sits at the intersection of legitimate business practices and potential fraud. The line between creative financial structuring and outright cheating has never been blurrier, and the NBA's decision on where to draw that line will have consequences that extend far beyond basketball. As we wait for the investigation to conclude, one thing is certain: the NBA will never look at endorsement deals the same way again. The Kawhi Leonard scandal has exposed vulnerabilities in the system that the league will be forced to address, whether through new regulations, enhanced oversight, or more severe penalties for violations. The ultimate question isn't just whether Leonard, Ballmer, and the Clippers broke the rules. It's whether those rules are adequate to maintain competitive balance in an era of unprecedented wealth concentration and financial innovation. The answer to that question will shape the future of professional basketball for generations to come. If you like this, check out the recommended videos by clicking the cards on your screen.